welcome to this session on such a pertinent topic as women's health. My name is Anastasiya Markvarde. I'm part of EVERSANA, global full-service provider for pharmaceutical industry, but my work falls into health innovation unit, and I'm pretty much focused on women's health in my work with pharma clients, but also with my publications on the topic and being part of Femtech across borders. I'm really excited to cover this topic with my great panelists today, and I'll take just a few moments of time before we dive into this topic together to set the scene. So if you're here, you're most probably interested in women's health, and I was thinking that we are now in December of 2024, and it would be nice to look back into this year to understand what actually happened in the industry of women's health. So if we look back, in January of 2024, McKinsey published their famous report on $1 trillion opportunity for world economy of closing women's health gap. And I think it was quite symbolic that we started 2024 in January with this publication because it drew a lot of attention and awareness about the imbalances of the system. In the same fashion, women's health took over Davos forum for the first time, where Kearney and Femtechnology also announced this their letter advocating for women's health. And basically they covered all these multiple facts about biases and gaps in research, that most of the therapies were designed for men, and most of the therapies were not actually tested on women, even though women make a majority of patients in some of the therapeutic areas, like, for example, Alzheimer's or cardiovascular. But of course, this pushed a bit us to do something as the industry. And if we look at policymakers, countries started to pay attention to the topic. So, for example, in March in the US, Biden administration called the Congress on $12 billion investment into women's health. And then in September 2024, Jill Biden announced that each year US will invest $500 million into women's health research. In a similar fashion, Femtech Canada advocated for $100 million investment and presented this proposal to the Canadian government to be invested into women's health innovation research. So countries are starting to do something about it. If we look at the partnerships, because the topic of our panel are innovations, if we look into innovative partnerships, for example, Oura Ring, which is the most known manufacturer of wearable ring. They had a bit of a more retail focused last year, but this year they went really strong into health tech partnerships. For example, they launched a study with CLU and University of California, Berkeley on perimenopause in women, and they partnered with a number of fertility and hormone tracking startups to provide a holistic care for perimenopause and menopause women. For example, in their report, they cite that only 28% of women understand what's going to happen in menopause. In a similar fashion, for example, Flow Health published a couple of groundbreaking studies, including a study on how acute stress affects pain sensitivity in women. It was the first kind of study on that topic. So we can see that even industry players are starting to pay more attention into like science, medical, and the partnership are structured around that. And also, if we speak about women's health, I think today we're going to focus a bit more on pregnancy and women-specific condition, because my panelists are working in this area. But it's important to underline that women's health goes much beyond that, so it needs to be looked as something across all therapeutic area. And for example, the researchers in the UK, just by defining MRI, adjusting it to women, were able to diagnose 16% more of heart failures in women. So that's like a really massive number, and that's very important to understand that across all therapeutic area, we need to adjust our therapies to women. And to close this, of course, we're going to talk now about investment and funding. And we know that women's health makes up only a fraction of funding, but there's been a number of developments in 2024. For example, in July, Flow Health became the first Femtech unicorn, fully digital unicorn, raising their Series C led by General Atlantic. And I think, of course, this will attract more investors into the area and show more potential in this area. So without further ado, I'd like to then jump into the discussion, as I think the facts that I've cited really prove the importance of the topic. So I'd like to start asking my panelists to introduce themselves and to say, what are your mission in women's health? Or if you want to be a bit more down to earth, what is the problem you're solving in women's health? So maybe, Emily, we could start with you.
Yep, sure. Hi everyone, my name's Emily. I'm Business Development Leader at Philips, so working in our women's healthcare category. For me, I work on our pregnancy app that we have, so it's the world's most downloaded pregnancy app, and we have 80% of all pregnancies in Europe using our app. So what we're trying to do is really focus around specific programs in the B2B space, so working with insurance companies, governments to look at policies, look at how we can really improve maternal health during pregnancy and then postpartum.
Sílvia, what about you?
I'm Sílvia. I'm head of innovation at DKB. DKB is a private health insurer in Spain. We are part of Ergo and Munich Re. And from a specific laboratory in digital health, we are working in the adoption of digital health solutions into our policies. For that, we are continuously scouting the market, and we have our own methodology for certifying and screening the solutions in the market to identify those that bring more value to our company. Women's health, in particular, has been a key topic for us during the years, and we have a strong focus on adopting solutions bringing value for women. And not only that, we also have an ecosystem of digital health services, including telemedicine, and we are also working there to offer more and more services for specifically for women.
Thank you very much, Sílvia and Emily. And we have entrepreneur side here with Rubén. So Rubén, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so happy to be here. Rubén Molina, and CEO and co-founder of INNITIUS. We are developing a system composed by an intravaginal probe we have developed ourselves that help us to understand the softness of the cervix. And we use this mechanical parameter in combination with the clinical patient profile to provide the doctor an assessment in 3 different pathologies. The first one is spontaneous preterm labor at the emergency unit. We can tell the doctor if the woman is going to deliver or not within the next 7 days. The second is a screening method for week 20 of pregnancy. We can prevent the risk of preterm birth. And the last one is in induction of labor. We can avoid extended journeys of dilation during the process of induction of labor, helping them to make informed decisions about C-section or vaginal delivery.
Thank you. And I'm happy that we have this combination of corporate innovation and then entrepreneurial side, so we can actually talk about the problem from very diverse perspectives. And I'd like to ask first Sílvia about the gaps in the industry. So we've seen that there is an uptick in investment into women's health, but it's still just a fraction of total investment in health. So why do you think it is? And by investment, of course, I mean not only VC investment, but also like corporate investment into the segment.
Okay, so as you were saying in the beginning, women's health has been historically underrepresented with this super high bias in research that has implied in the inequality, has given to inequality in the healthcare system. Right now we are seeing an emergence of more startups focusing in solving women's health problems, and also some investors are starting to fund more of these startups. It's happening because because women are entering more and more positions in the business and technological sides, and also they are entering the investment firms, and they are advocating for the investment in such startups. Also because there is more awareness in the population regarding these topics, and breaking the stigma and generating more knowledge about this. And finally, because as you were saying, so there's already some data proving that that is cost-effective for investors to go there. So I think that's the reason why this change is beginning. But I think we have a long road ahead, and there's a lot to do to make these startups actually reach the market, solve the problems, make women benefit from the value, and generate more and more data that can help us also provide more evidence and generate more treatments and more solutions for women.
Emily, what's your perspective on this? And maybe you can add a bit more of like what you're actually doing to help solve this bias?
Yeah, and I completely agree with all the points Sylvia's made, right? I think when we look at this category, there's historically been a big neglect in this area of women's health, and we're now starting to see a light being shone on it, which is great, but we still have quite a way to go. I think everybody who is here in this room is very aware of the data gaps, the data biases, the lack of information that we have for women's health, but it needs to start and it needs to be kind of moved forward a lot. So I think when we look at investors and the diversity around investors as well, I was looking at the stats, and actually 70% of decision-maker investors are white men. So I think there also needs to be a lot of diversity when it comes to different investor types as well, because maybe there's a little understanding of the lived experiences or women's health conditions in general. So I think we can look at policies and how do we improve the policy change? How can we start to make specific policies around women's health? So rather than treating women as small men, how can we say, okay, what is needed? What policies exist, or what policies maybe need to be changed because they're outdated, or there's just, we're now moving into modern times, right? But we're still using a lot of things from 100 years ago. So there's a big movement towards doing that. So at Philips, to your question, we're working with insurance companies and looking to work with governments as well to do just that. So I mentioned we have our Pregnancy Plus app. It was so lucky so we have 8 out of 10 pregnancies in Europe using our app, and they use it as their main source of education and information throughout their pregnancy. And the great thing is they start the app at week 6, so really early on in the pregnancy. So we have this amazing opportunity to capture someone at the very start, so normally before they go for their first appointment at week 12. So in that way, you can really look at preventative healthcare. So we can start to look at what are the high-risk factors, and we know they're becoming higher risk as people are having children older, that people are unhealthier lifestyles, so that's also leading to more complications. So we're looking to work with partners on how do we make curated, personalized journeys, looking at specific groups and specific cohorts.
Yeah, that sounds like a really big impact. And before we jump into Rubén's perspective, Sílvia, would you like to add anything on your activities, like more specifically covering the...
Well, I believe we help in the adoption, so our work is to adopt all these solutions and bring them to our policyholders. So we help those startups reaching the endpoint, and that is our work, I would say.
It's very well said, very precise, thank you. Okay, so Rubén, you are an entrepreneur here, and you are actually facing all those biases that we've been just talking about. So could you tell us which specific challenges you faced during your business development journey and fundraising, and how you approached them, how you solved them?
Yeah, so the first point is that it's really frustrating for me when I pitch or send a pitch to somebody, some investors, and I receive the message, the market is too narrow, and it seems like women's health is still considered like a niche market, where the situation is not like that. I mean, it's half the population in the world that is women, right? And I also don't agree in terms of market size, as we have a huge market, but I guess that we should not consider anymore women's health like a niche itself, because it's not only the solutions that are they're trying to target pregnancy stuff and reproductive health, but for example, those pathologies that affect differently, as they say, to women than to men, like for example, osteoporosis, like should be also considered women's health. And yeah, I mean, we are facing a tough journey there. It's been tough to raise money right now. I mean, the whole fundraising situation is bad. But we are getting a lot of no's because we are considered actually a niche in the investment market. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for entrepreneurs here in the audience on how to address those?
Yeah, trying to defend yourself, like why you are not a niche. I mean, what we normally say is that even if you consider us a niche, it's more than 1 billion euros annually market. And I also have a trick here, and it's like, when you try to approach with a women's health solution, a VC, I don't know why, but it works better for me to speak with a woman partner there, because I think that you actually understand better what we do than when you pitch to a white guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And yeah, unfortunately, investors are infamous for looking at women's health as just a, a tiny segment. But then what's more, investors have been historically more interested in pregnancy and fertility because it's like clear for them and they understand what they're talking about, while other areas like, I don't know, other symptoms related to women's specific conditions, they don't even know what it is, like menopause, they cannot understand what that is, even though half of the population will go through the menopause, and menopause, including perimenopause, can last up to some 20 years of life, can take up to 20 years of life of a woman. So it's quite impressive to realize that we've been ignoring this for too long, but luckily the industry is changing. There are more players tackling this. So yeah, maybe we could move into this, action mode and talk a little bit more about like what you are doing, or which examples have you seen in the industry, how they tackle women's health, how they tackle these challenges, and what you would suggest that is needed in the industry. So maybe we could start with Emily.
Yeah, sure. I think there's loads of great examples, actually. So you've got Fem Health Ventures, which is looking specifically at some of the underserved conditions like endometriosis, menopause, you mentioned, also maternal health. So looking at funding specifically for women's health. So I think that's a really nice step forward. There's also She Invests, which is European Bank Investment Fund, looking at the gender equality and really providing like women's health specific and access to care, because access to care is also a huge topic, but we could do a whole panel on that. I think, there's obviously the lack of funding, like you've mentioned, right, is a challenge. I think that it can be quite difficult for people, but there is momentum, and we really need to build on that because we know the ROI is there, it's proven, right? The data is coming through, so it's how we capitalize that. So I think, making sure that that's bringing the awareness. Also a nice example, actually, so a program that Philips did with our Swiss insurance company, Group Mutual. So in Switzerland, they fully reimburse the cost of electric breast pumps for mums. But when we did a survey, 70% of people were totally unaware that they could get a breast pump for free. Now, we know the benefits of breastfeeding for mum, also the baby, so we were able to run a campaign to educate and inform people of that so that they could actually just make use of the policy that they're actually paying from a private insurance perspective, but not even realizing that's a benefit. So I think there are benefits out there that people can utilize, and that also provides greater access to other people who might not be able to afford them, or to help with reimbursement as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Awareness is a huge topic per se. If we talk about, research developments and innovations, and especially something that already exists, and people just don't know about that, and it actually ties very well to what Sílvia here is doing. So maybe you want to add on this.
Yeah, so at DKB, 60% of the people buying individual policies are women, and the majority of them are within the age range of 25 and 54. So this is a high important customer base for us, and that's one of the reasons why we are also tackling this topic, and we want to offer value and to solve the health needs of this specific segment. So for that, we have a large portfolio of insurance services specifically for women, but more in terms of innovation, what we've been doing is providing specific digital health services for women, midwife coach through chat, different telemedicine services, specific prevention plans. And this year, we launched 2 open innovation calls to the market. One of them in menopause, one of them in menopause. For menopause, we have been all year searching for a company, and we haven't found the perfect match. That's why we were looking for a more medical device with some proven data, and all the solutions we see that are kind of early or are either in the workplace area, not that much in health. So we had this problem there. So maybe those startups that are more early need support and to get to more mature states. But it's positive that most of them had 1 year or less than 1 year of life. So it's positive that all of them are entering the market. Well, not entering the market yet, but are starting. And then the other topic that we launched this year was in early prevention of problems during pregnancy. Here, INNITIUS was one of the companies within the challenge. The thing was that INNITIUS, as we don't have an hospital, so it was not possible to collaborate between us, we selected as winner Hormona. Hormona is an app that tracking the hormone levels through a urine test. They give personalized recommendations and tips in healthy habits to alleviate the symptoms of these hormone changes during the cycle, the women's cycle. And they have a specific plans for perimenopause, but also for different kind of things like acne, things like this. So this year has been our Women Health Year at DKB, and yeah, it's
yeah, that's great to learn about this. There's like a lot of great work you guys doing there. And I just want to ask Rubén here as well. So what is you think is the impact of your solution, or has been so far, or potential, and like a little bit more on this side?
So right now we are in clinical trial phase, and we already completed like 400 patients clinical trial in 10 hospitals here in Spain. We are now about to start a pivotal study in Spain and Germany, 20 clinical sites. And we try to not only validate the sensitivity and specificity and safety of our technology, but also to get involved the physicians into the development process of our technology, so they see everyday patients like we need to target. So, but also one important thing that we think we are doing is to involve the patient as well into the woman, into the development process. So we try to ask them how they feel. I mean, the physician do that of the clinical trial, how they feel about our solution, if it's comfortable, the pain level, and so on, and trying to implement those things into our design itself. And so far we are validating the solution in the clinical practice, but we plan to launch the product in 2027, a diagnostic solution, and there we have like more than I would say like 15 million of pregnant women every year we can target with our first solution. So yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive, and I think this point about validating the solution with women and with patients and with doctors is so important, because we know that, again, historically, many of the tools and procedures used in women's health, like, were completely ignoring women's feedback, if we can put it this way. For example, IUD insertion pain was always ignored, and the industry has started to address it only now, with actually several innovations as well coming into this area. We have time for addressing one quick question as well, because I'd like to use this opportunity that we have a corporate side and the entrepreneurial side. So what do you think, we can start with Rubén, what are the challenges, like if you're trying to work with corporates, right, in this segment, how difficult is that, and what you would wish to see there on their side?
I think we have one challenge, which is shared with the whole startup phase, which is like we are normally too early for collaboration with corporates, but there is one point where you are about to start with it, and it's tough because we are agile, we are 15, 20 people, and they are like a huge monster, and it's tough to find the right people to talk with, and also inside a company like Philips, GE, Logic, whatever, you are really divided into departments, and sometimes it's tough to find the right people to talk with, and that, I think, it's a barrier for us to start a collaboration with them.
Yeah, I think you're not alone in this. I think even companies, like inside their own companies, sometimes struggle to find relevant people to talk to, so not mentioning startups from outside. So ladies, what do you have to add on here, Emily?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a challenge, right? Well, we were joking about this before, but 70,000 people at Philips, sometimes I don't even know the right person to connect with, right? So it's it's a challenge. For us, we look at partnerships, and we do want to work with startups and scale-ups, and I think partnerships is really critical. And one thing that we've reflected on for sure in the last few years is that you can't do it on your own. And even if you are a big company, you don't have the expertise, you don't have the knowledge to do everything that you want to do. So partnerships are critical, and they're so important. So I think it's realizing that, and I think sometimes it's a journey for big companies because they think, oh, we'll just create that ourselves or we'll make that app. And actually, sometimes you can't do that yourself. So you do need to bring external partners and companies in. So that's the journey that we're on at the moment, for sure.
And would you like to add
Yeah,
comment
I
here?
think that our kind of company is not that difficult to find innovation persons there. Everything at the end reach to us. But yeah, so what we are doing more in terms for us the relationship with startups to ensure they fit with us. And also to support startups, so we do this proof of value. We do a lot of pilots with our policy holders, and the data we generate with all these studies is super useful for startups, and also for us to decide on whether we continue or not. But yeah, and then we have this specific methodology for screening the digital health solutions in the market that we have been curating it during the years, and for us this is crucial because it's so difficult for us to really assess a solution and see if it is enough validated to be in the clinical practice, see if it has enough adherence, it will have enough adherence, so we've done it for this reason.
Yeah, I think those kind of initiatives that you were mentioning earlier in the panel are like innovation calls or specific innovation department programs are really useful for startups to understand what the corporate is doing in this segment. So I've done my fair share of this kind of projects, and yeah, it's a constant process and needs education and awareness of both sides. Thank you so much.